Taylor, that's your first two-pointer in 22 months, your second two-pointer of your career. Does that surprise you?
Yes. I would say it does. I feel like I'm definitely more of a three-point threat, especially at this level, but I'm going to have to expand and start doing more things so that people have to guard me at all levels, so it doesn't hurt to show that.
Assist me.
Facts. Shout out Hannah. We got that connection.
Taylor and Hannah, I'm hoping to hear from both of you. This is, I believe, the second game where Sydney's back, and everyone gave a pretty solid performance tonight, but it obviously must be nice, especially for Hannah. You guys are playing together again after she was sidelined with an injury. Can you both walk me through a little bit, like, what she was bringing tonight and what she's brought to the team, even in her injury?
Yeah, I think Sydney always brings a level of leadership that we need out there. She's always really good. She's very talkative, and she brings lots of aggression, so it's just great to have her back out there.
Yeah, she's been such a big part of this program from the second that she stepped on campus. And so, I mean, even though she was out for a little while, she was still such an integral part of our team, and that doesn't change when she steps on the court. It's like she was never gone.
You talk about aggressiveness and assertiveness and all that. You guys get to the line 32 times tonight. It seemed like there was a lot of attack there tonight. Agree?
Yes.
Could you?
Yeah. Yeah. We were attacking. They were fouling, so we got to the line. I don't know.
I doubt you care all that much about rankings, especially in November, but do you feel like maybe people are sleeping on you?
Yeah, I think a little bit. For sure, when the rankings came out, we talked about it. Lucy texted me right away, and we were like, yeah, that's not going to cut it. So I think it gave us a little fuel to our fire, and we work a lot harder.
Yeah, we're going to let them sleep on us, too. The rankings only matter at the end of the year anyway.
For both of you guys, from your perspective, what do you think is working well defensively right now?
I think that Coach Sean and Coach Reyna have impacted our defense so much this year, and we've really started to emphasize that more. We know that we have plenty of offensive threats, but in order to compete at the level we want to compete at, we're just going to have to be able to guard people, and we know we're going to outscore them. It's just a matter of how much we can hold them to. So our goals are to hold them under their average, and we want to try and get 3 stops in a row as many times as possible. So I feel like we're executing that really well, and we're bringing that intensity in practice and focusing on that there too. So it's translated over really well.
Question for either of you guys. It was close there for the first couple minutes, and then you guys finished the first quarter on a 23-2 run. What was working specifically there in that first quarter that really allowed you guys to take control of the game early?
Yeah, I think defense leads to offense, so us getting lots of stops was really crucial for that. Yeah, I think our defense was really good in that first quarter.
Hannah, your free throw stroke was obviously outstanding tonight. How do you feel about it?
I feel great. Nobody wants to miss free throws, but I've been working on it for such a long time, and now that it's finally coming together, I think it's really awesome.
I mean, despite you guys having a lot of new pieces with a lot of returning experience as well, you guys, I think, through the first 3 quarters had only 3 turnovers. I mean, how are you guys able to just turn defense into offense and control the pace, but just not really lose focus and just really kind of value every single possession?
I feel like our transition is so natural that it's easy to, find each other and not make mistakes in that aspect. And our posts were making everything a catch, which also really helps. So yeah, I just feel like we really had control of the ball, and we controlled the game for the most part. So it's easy to have that confidence and take care of the ball when that's the case.
The schedule ramps up a bit now with some big games coming up, and most notably with Drake on the road on Sunday. Just kind of looking at these first 3 games as a whole, what do you feel like has gone well that needs to continue going well into Drake, and then what's maybe something you feel like you need to work on a little bit before that game?
Yeah, I think we've been progressing really well. Each game we get better, especially at our defense. I think we've been focusing on that. So I think going into this next game, keeping on building on what we've been working on since we got here in June is really important.
Taylor, what does Sunday mean to you, and how would you describe your sister as a ball player?
She's me, but blonde. I'm so excited for Sunday. It's just gonna be so fun having my family there and I mean, truthfully, I don't know that we've ever played against each other. I don't think we've ever played with each other, so this is just kind of going to be weird. But fun at the same time, and I'm just glad that we'll all be reunited, and I just feel like, sometimes when your family's so all over the place and chaotic like that, I mean, I have 2 more siblings besides her, so kind of all over the place. It's good to get together once in a while, and it's also fun for me and the rest of the attack kids because we're going to get to play against some of our old teammates. I mean, that does add a different level to the game, but that doesn't mean we're going to go out and do anything different. Our priorities and our goals are still the same.
What were your driveway one-on-one games like with her?
We did put in a full court in my backyard, and we were banned from playing 2-on-2 after the summer in COVID because we had a couple too many injuries, and my brothers were outgrowing us.
Hannah, I know you had a minor injury scare on opening night, but just in general, how much better do you feel now after going through, an off season with some cleanup stuff, and how much more noticeable is that so far this year?
Yeah, I feel amazing. I've been in the training room a lot, which is not great, but I feel so much better than I did. Even last year, my knee bugged me a lot, so just being able to play freely and not worry about anything with my body has been really nice.
I guess where in your game have you noticed the biggest difference on the floor? Is it offensively, defensively, just everything kind of?
Yeah, I think everything. I noticed it with every step last year, so just being able to run up and down the court without noticing is really nice.
Taylor, I'll say, Taylor, for you, kind of just move back to the bench and still have a profound impact on a game. What were you kind of saying to yourself coming into this one?
Yeah, that's a good question. I had to change my mindset a little bit, right? And I think that I was definitely expecting this going forward just because of how big of a role Sid has had in the past, and so that was never going to be, any question that this was going to be my primary role. It's just that it started in a little different spot in the first 2 games. So I think just, I'm gonna stay hot. I'm gonna stay locked in. Still never know when my time's coming, so gotta stay prepared and know that, when I get those chances, I'm gonna knock them down, and I know I can do that better than anyone else.
Thanks, Taylor.
Yeah. That's nice. Good work.
Questions for Jan?
Jan, how satisfying is it to win a game that you were heavily favored, you guys came out from pretty much the beginning and dominated? How satisfying is that to see the team do that?
Yeah, these games are always, they're just a little different to prepare for, especially when you're coming off a very high, intense game like a Virginia Tech. The way they set up that tournament, it really gives like an NCAA vibe. And the opponent, you don't have to work at all to get your team ready for one like that. So this one, you're just kind of wondering, how are they going to really come out, especially when you have 6 new faces. So I was really happy they came out with that intensity, and I thought they had a really, really nice focus for that first quarter. And I think anytime your team does what you feel like they should have done, there's a sense of not only satisfaction, but of relief, I think. Yeah.
Jen, it seems like you guys always get something out of your 6th player role, whether it was Hannah 2 years ago or Sydney last year. I mean, Taylor in that sense, what does she give you in the 6th player role?
With McCabe, right? There's 2 Taylors. And sometimes you can argue that Taylor Schrimlow is a pretty heck of a good 6th player too. That's the thing. Like, how do you want to utilize Taylor McCabe? And she's a really thoughtful player, and she didn't skip a beat. Everybody wants to start, but in my opening press conference, I said, I think the big thing I really love about this team is they're pushing to start, but they're really, really for each other. And there has to be a concession in your mind that Taylor handled that beautifully. She was hoping it wasn't going to be her, right? Maybe it would be Kylie that Sid would have come back in for Kylie, but she understood. And then, her production was tremendous, and I think we're going to need that from Taylor McCabe, and she's going to play a pivotal role for us, and that's why I was thrilled to see her respond like that. And she's just a great kid. They all are really.
Defensively through 3 games, it feels like since game 1 you've taken a step forward. Northern Illinois to Virginia Tech to now. Just the level that you guys are playing defensively now hasn't been something we've seen in a while from the Iowa team.
Yeah.
Just just kind of talk about what that could do for you guys if
Yeah.
you can continue.
Yeah, when we got together, our staff, I kind of looked at what we had, and we felt like we had the potential to be a little better defensively. And when you graduate an era like we did, it's kind of hard to find places that you think you can be better, right? So I think that we needed to look at every little nook and cranny and think, okay, kind of measure what we lost, who we lost, what do we have coming in, how could we fill it. And, with Lucy Olson, she's so long and she's, as aggressive. Kylie, as you know, has always been a pretty good defender, and Sid's a really good defender, and Hannah's a good defender. So we thought, you know what? We graduated a whole lot of points, and we graduated a whole lot of flashy points. So you're not going to replicate that at all. But where could we maybe, close a gap if we're not going to average that many points? Is there a way that we can get a little better on the defensive side to, maybe offset that? So, so far, I think that's been a really good focus for us. Sean Sullivan, he's always loved defense, even when he was back with us at the beginning on the gray squad and manager and so forth. And Raina's always kind of helped us with that D. There has to be a presence, someone that's always, barking about the get a stop and all that. But I think collectively our staff really knew that's an area we could get better on. Our hope so. But, our schedule is, like you mentioned, is going to ramp up. I don't know how really good we are right now. I like what I'm seeing. But boy, Drake, they're great. Kansas, we got Washington State, go down to, Thanksgiving, and then we're playing Tennessee and Iowa State. So we're going to get tested every which way for a really young team. But I sure like their effort that they're showing.
Jen, I mentioned it to two players in here, but you guys only had 3 turnovers in the first 27 minutes. You're playing at a fast pace, you're getting stops, but you're valuing every possession. For a group that has a lot of new faces along with the turning, how encouraging is that this early you guys are controlling what you can control?
Yeah, I think part of that is how they're playing defensively against us. They weren't really high pressure. They weren't in those passing lanes. So I think a lot of that was how they played defense. But this group is really pretty thoughtful. We don't have a lot of risk takers yet, right? We have a lot of youth. The biggest risk taker we have is Taylor Strimlow. And she's made some pretty fun kind of little, flashier passes. But these guys are, trying to do it right. And if it's there, we're going to do it, but we're not going to create something. I think partly they're not as confident, but they also want to do it so right. And I think that's why you're seeing the lower turnover, at least now. But again, it's so early. I need to, I can think of a lot of things in my mind that I didn't really like what we did. But I am appreciative that they're taking care of the ball.
Coach, you've gone back to Drake every other year for 24 years now. What's this trip going to be like for you?
Well, it's just the thing that's so funny. It's the Drake's 50th anniversary of their women's basketball program. And there's a lot of brouhaha with it. And I just thought, wow, just the irony of it. I'm a proud Drake alum. Drake did so much for me as a young student athlete. And I've always said I have 2 favorite teams in the state, that one and, of course, ours. And I'm for Drake every game except the one that we have to play. But I just thought, just the chances of that. So it's really special. The tough part is they're going to have a whole heck of a lot of motivation. They're doing an extremely great job. They've invited, actually, the history back from Drake. Every coach, every player. Actually, Wanda Ford, Lori Bauman are coming back. They're the 2 jerseys that are hanging up. So it's just going to be a fun celebration on Saturday. There's a little get-together for alums. But I know it's going to take everything we got because I've been on that side of the ball and I've been on this side of the ball for the last years, and it's always a fun game, but it's really, really tough when you go in there and you're wearing the Hawkeye uniform. But I have all the respect for Allison, and she's a friend of mine, so it will be fun, but it'll be emotional too.
Coach, do you think Iowa still has a target on its back? Even though
Yeah,
they're ranked?
absolutely. Just by virtue of being in the sport, for so long, we just had such a, a fun run, and we've had a nice history, right? It's not just the last 2 years, since the Sam Logic era. we've had a nice level of playing. But when you've been in the limelight as much as we are, that's the thing I keep trying to caution our players about is that doesn't really matter to anybody. What they see is the team that was in the NCAA championship games back-to-back. What they see is, you know, all the highlights that happened the last 2 years. And if they can come into this arena, which I'm so thankful for our fans continuing to show up, I mean, we're going to get everybody's best shot. And that's where I'm trying my hardest to get them to really realize that. I think they're understanding it because of Sam and Hannah, right? I mean, Sid and Hannah. But it's going to get a little bit more intense here as the schedule wears on. We're going to feel it.
We've talked a lot about Addie O'Grady so far this season. Tonight showed her passing ability on several occasions. I think kind of 4 or 5 times where she made some good passes.
Yeah.
Just how nice is it when you can put a center in there that can also distribute the ball a bit? What does that do?
Yeah, and what's really nice is we can run our offense from the block, and sometimes we'll bring her up high. And Addie's always been a nice passer in the recruiting process. She actually, people have probably forgotten, but she was a high school teammate of Lauren Betts, who's the center at UCLA. And so you can imagine that high school high-low game. And so it was Addie that was throwing the high-low. I need to get her more opportunities for her to kind of showcase that. I think that is really a nice benefit because she does do a good job with the passing decisions.
Obviously, your veteran players have to do more than they've done in their careers, as is the case, I would guess, with every team. But do you ever, as a coach, know what you're going to get from those players? Can they do that? Can they, give you more?
Yeah, I think for us to really escalate as the competition ramps up, they're going to have to. We have to see a little bit more consistency and efficiency out of everybody who's been here before. I think the interesting part is, you can say like, yeah, we have the returners and we have age, but we don't necessarily have experience. Kylie Feuerbach played last year, but it wasn't a lot of minutes in the key punches. Taylor played last year, but it wasn't always the key minutes, right? Lucy has played in the Big East some key minutes, but she hasn't played here key minutes. Hannah and Sid have. So Hannah and Sid are wearing a lot because they also have to lead everybody in these tough games, what it's like at a Drake and how those in-state rivalries feel, and you got to bring it, and then they have to perform. So I think for us, if we're going to keep on the winning track or at least winning, whether that scoreboard happens or not, but progressing with how we're competing, I think you've hit it on the head. We have to have more consistency from the people that have been around because the freshmen, they're just going to be freshmen. So you can't put all that on them to have their stat line stellar every game. I think that's what I want to see is just a little bit more productivity of consistency across the board.
Coach, I asked you about three-point shooting on Monday, another game under 30% from three. Is that just a shot that this team might not need to be successful this year?
Oh, I think we're going to need it. I think we'll see as we go on. When I track those threes, they're just not great threes, some of them. And I think if I can get them to take those out of it, the percentage will go a little higher because they'll then take a better one, it'll feel better, and they'll have more confidence. So a couple of them take a couple threes that are ill-advised, and they sit down and they're 0-2. And now they sit for a while, then they go in, and they've had too much time to think about it. So I got to do a better job of getting them understanding when to take it because they're not quite all green light shooters that we can just take it. Like Taylor McCabe, I'll have her take it till the cows come home, right? That kid is just a sharpshooter. So I just have to get that worked out a little bit. But it needs to improve too. We're going to need it. We got to have a threat or else people are just going to sag off. Then Addie's job's harder. All the things are harder.
Lucy looks like she's about ready to hit a three.
Yeah.
She stops.
Yeah.
Very discerning about it.
Yeah, and I'm not as worried about Lucy. Lucy's just a thinker right now. She's trying to do it so right. So when you're trying to do it so right and lead and learn a new system, she's losing a little bit of what made Lucy Lucy just being able to play and make a play, abandon the offense when she sees that seam. So I've been trying to work with her on just being a freelancer when she wants to be. But I'm telling you, this team is I just hope they have really good things in store, because they want to do good for all the right reasons. And it has nothing to do with themselves. And that's why I really have enjoyed it. And I think I've said it so many times. They're just a fun bunch to have a crack at this thing with.
Jane kind of touched on it earlier, but
Yeah.
With Taylor McCabe, you said either Kylie or her was going to move to the bench with Sydney come back in the starting lineup. I just want to know, how was that conversation like with Taylor, and how encouraged with you with her performance today? Because I think she was second in score today. So.
The beautiful thing, it's hardly a conversation. I walked off the court and just walked with her up to the locker room. I said, hey, just want you to know. She's like, yeah, I know, because Sid's, yeah, I thought that might happen. Fist bump, we're good. Sit down, watch the film come out, starts practice, and I'll probably hit 2 for 3 on threes, So I think that's the thing. Sometimes you can really stew and worry as a coach. You have to make sure you're massaging the conversation. But I just feel like there's always a little disappointment, and there should be, because we all want to start. I think everybody in the room would like to start, right? Whatever your starting role is at the newspapers or the TVs. But that's what I love about Taylor McCabe. One of the many.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Jen.
Thank you, people. We appreciate you covering us.